Hello Sofa Squad. Today I'm going to just do a quick video on the Phil Spector situation, talk about who he is, or was, I guess I should say at this point, how the media is reacting to the situation, and what happened with him. Now Roscoe has decided to join me today, so he will be joining us today. Now a lot of you might be like, well, who is Phil Spector? What's going on? Who is that? Well, we're going to talk about that. You also might be wondering, why was he incarcerated? What could he have done? Well, I'll tell you a couple of things it wasn't for. It wasn't for that hair and those outfits, though I do believe he caught a couple of misdemeanor charges on those. So look, Phil has made headlines again at the age of 80 after passing away while being property of the state of California, being incarcerated for the things that he did. Now a lot of the stuff that I keep seeing in the media, I just think it's interesting and kind of sad, because it's like, Grammy Award winner passes away, you know, founder of Wall of Sound passes away, and kind of giving him all of these accolades in the headlines as if he's still this wonderful person. And while yes, he did do a lot of amazing things in music way back when, and was considered, you know, a genius as far as I can tell, a major producer, you know, he also did some really horrible things more recently in life, and probably all through his life. And so I just feel like it's a disservice to the victims of his. Now before we talk about like him, let's talk about the person, the victim of the case. Her name was Lana Clarkson. Now Lana was an actress. She starred in a few kind of like B-grade films or whatever. Some of those you might recognize the names of: Barbarian Queen, Deathstalker, Scarface, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Now in 2003, she would be found slumped over in a chair with a bullet wound to the roof of her mouth at Phil Spector's home. Now, Lana also waitressed at the House of Blues, and this is where she met Phil. Now, another thing that's just bizarre about this case is the fact that she only met him a few hours before all this went down. She was working the VIP section, and he came in, and it said that at first she was like, oh, who's she? I like her hair. She's pretty. And the bosses were like, no, that's Phil Spector. You need to roll out the red carpet. That is royalty as far as we're concerned type situation. And so she was tasked with, you know, like treating him like that, like VIP or whatever. So now rewind a little bit. That evening, Phil had been like painting the town red, you know, being driven around in his Mercedes limo, drinking, going on other dates, all this stuff. So he was kind of like winding the night down at the House of Blues. And he convinced Lana to go back to his mansion, his ginormous mansion, and have like a nightcap. And so she agrees to do this, and literally a few hours later, you know, she is gone from this earth. You know, this is what happened to her. Now, also, what is sad and kind of infuriating, to be honest, is he would say, oh, she accidentally did that to herself. And I'm just like, really? You know, really? Really? Now, as you can imagine, Phil had tons of money, tons of clout, all this stuff to throw at this case. Now remember, this happened in 2003. So 2007, it goes to trial and stuff, and it ends with a hung jury. And so there's that, you know, you can imagine. Now 2009, it goes back to trial. Now for this trial, he like slimmed it down. Because I mean, I'm talking, y'all, the 2007 trial, he would roll up in there, I mean, looking like a hair metal band / Versace something or other experiment, maybe, I don't know. It was so over the top. And again, he had all this money to throw at it. He still had money to throw at it in the other trial, but this one brought justice to Lana. And, you know, they weren't buying it. They were like, who goes to somebody's house they never met and does this? She bought a bunch of shoes right before this. I mean, this was not somebody planning on taking their own life. Now, also, what did not help the case, and this is at both trials, they would bring in, I mean, woman after woman who would come in there and be like, he ain't right. You know, he was a menace. He would, you know, had no problem pointing guns at people. He would go from 0 to 100, and it was scary, and it was usually alcohol driven. So remember, I just said, the night that this happened to Lana, he had been out drinking all night long. So this fits the narrative completely for what he was doing, but he took it too far. Now, one of his previous wives, Ronnie from the Ronettes, the lead singer, he was married to her. And we'll talk about some of the songs he produced and stuff like that. But she would say, you know what, yeah, I was married to the man, and he was horrible to me. He was always putting her down, always talking about, you're nothing without me, and da-da-da-da-da. You know, and she ended up fleeing barefoot from him. I mean, that speaks volumes. And you know what else is very interesting about it? It's very Tina and Ike. You know what I mean? Just like this crazed, narcissistic, abusive husband that, you know, is just completely controlling this woman. So I'm glad Ronnie got away, and we absolutely are here for their song, Be My Baby. It's down in the description below if you want to hear it. Now, one of the reasons that we keep seeing this, you know, famous producer and, you know, this important music guy and all this stuff is because he did do some pretty major stuff in the music business. Phil is the creator, or the inventor, whatever you want to call it, of what is known as the wall of sound. Now, the definition, I'm just going to read it here. I'll put it up on the screen as well. The wall of sound, a popular music production technique developed in the 1960s in which a number of musicians perform the same instruments or parts in unison, and the resulting sound is re-recorded in an echo chamber. The Ronettes song, Be My Baby, is an example. So, like I said, if you want to just kind of refresh your memory what that sounds like, you can go down below. Sofa sidebar, I heard that song first from Dirty Dancing. Yes, I've seen that movie hundreds of times. It's a classic. It's a classic. I love it. You can't deny it. So, there's that. So, Phil made this huge name for himself. I mean, he worked with major stars. He produced major stars and major people in the music business. So, yes, I mean, he was considered this huge person. Now, my whole thing is this. Okay, here we see again all this money, all this power, all this influence, all this privilege, you know, because I can tell you this much. If this was me, you, one of us normal people going up in a case like this of we met a girl at a bar and 2 hours later she slumped over with a fatal wound in her head, y'all, there would not be no hung jury. I can assure you of that. Probably also a lot of us would have made different hairstyle choices, but that's just me being petty. Now, in regards to what happened to him, and this is per TMZ, the article is down below if you want to read it more in depth. This apparently is the big C, you know, what's going around right now, the plague, complications. Allegedly, he was diagnosed with this. He had been transferred and seemed to be doing better, and then just kind of deteriorated. I mean, y'all, he was 80 years old in prison. I mean, come on, you know. Let's just, you know, put two and two together. He wasn't long for the earth anyways. So that's it. Again, if you want to learn more about this case, there's actually 2 movies out on it. Okay, so there's a documentary, and I'm not sure, but I feel like I've seen the documentary before. I didn't watch it recently for this, but I was just looking it back up to refresh my memory because I remember watching something on it and being floored at this case. So I put both of those in there. Now, another one is more of a recent movie, you know, so it's a movie. Al Pacino is depicting this guy, and I mean, he does a good job at it. I mean, come on, it's Al. So again, it's a tragic case, but it's also one of those where you're watching it and you just see this ending coming, and it's just sad that people get away with this. You know, it's like the Harvey Weinstein before Harvey Weinstein kind of a situation. So that's it. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to all the supporters. I really appreciate it. Check out the links and the documentaries and movies and stuff down below if you want to learn more about this, and watch more of my videos if you want to see more of me up here giving my sofa sense. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.